applies to magnet. Yeah, thank you.
Wendy, are we all set? Okay, so we'll call the Select Board meeting to order. I'll note that Tom Ayer was unable to come tonight because of a family issue, and he did read the packet, and we did talk about it, but he's unable to attend. Also note, I think this is our 4th meeting in 5 weeks. So it's been busy summer, and for Renee, that keeps her very busy. And our hope is more meetings mean not so late nights. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe. So additions, second item on the agenda besides the call to order is additions and deletions. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to item 3. This is a discussion and potential actions associated with the Baldwin Road intersection. We've been talking about this for close to a year, probably. We've had 3 or 4 public meetings. I think it's probably 4. There were some discussion. I think it initially started with a petition from people on the Baldwin Road asking us to pave the road. Then there was some discussion about paving the very start of the road to mitigate some of the issues associated with that hill. Then there was a delay on that, I think, to see how it went through the winter. And I think Mike had said that it went well, as good as expected. And then there was some actions and over the winter about redesigning the entrance to the road. A temporary intersection was put up, and some people were not happy, and others maybe thought it was okay, but we took that down. We asked Tyler, our local engineer, to take a look at it and come up with what his recommendations are, whether we think we should move forward with this. You presented, I think, a couple months ago, the design which was close to what was originally there, if not the same, but with more detail. And so I think tonight we'll talk about where we are and potentially make a decision. There's 2 decisions that could be made. One is, do we move forward with the intersection redesign? The second one, I think, would be whether we go forward with that paving of 400 feet, 800 feet, up Baldwin Road. So with that, I guess, Tyler, do you want to just say where we are? You finalized, I think, some of the design documentation, or maybe it's been final for a while?
It really hasn't changed too much from the last time I was in. I think the couple clarifications you guys were looking for last time was the cost estimate, which I sent in. I think it was 18,000-ish. That was for the intersection, not for paving the whole way to the top of the hill. Just for the pavement work, the striping work, the delineators, kind of just that immediate intersection. And there was another question about the line striping on Charlotte Road and how that would be redone. And it would just be done to match the VTrans standard intersection detail, which leaves about a 20-foot gap on either lane as you're coming down the hill. And the last question, I think, was if we could have additional signage actually on Charlotte Road closer to the top of the hill. At the last meeting, Mike had been talking to VTrans about getting some additional dangerous intersection sign or flashing sign kind of as you come down the hill and approach Baldwin Road. So those are the 3 things that kind of got looked into, I guess, additionally after that last go around, but the design hasn't changed.
Does the board have any specific questions?
We got this letter from Susan Johnson. I don't know if everybody saw it. It came later
Yep.
in the day today. And
Did the rest of the board see the letter?
I just read it.
she does talk about signs coming from Charlotte, that would be a big help. And I haven't really studied it enough to see if the other things she brought up are being addressed. But she was here at the last meeting, and she's just repeating what she said then. And I think it's important that we do address the things that she brought up.
Well, there's something specific there. I mean, she did talk about the signage, and I'm looking at it now. So what exactly would be the signage on Charlotte Road?
Did you hear back from V-Trans at all about what they recommended for putting down that hill?
She suggests dangerous intersection ahead and maybe a blinking light.
I think, and her suggestion is to not change the intersection either.
That's correct.
Right.
And she also suggests lower the speed limit from 45 to 35 coming into town, as it is on Falls Road.
Is the speed limit on Charlotte Road 40, or is it 35? 45.
And if we were to put a sign on the Charlotte Road, west of the Baldwin Road, where would it be and what would it say? You don't think there should be a sign?
I don't know, I'm gonna have to get in touch with the state because they signed the road. It was part of the Hardware Squirrel Roads thing, and the state signed it originally. Well, I mean, just a few years ago.
Right.
So I'll have to check with them and see. I mean, depending on what's gonna happen, is the intersection gonna stay? Is it gonna get changed?
Well, regardless
If
of-
they're gonna wanna re-sign it differently.
Right. I guess if we were to go forward with the intersection, we might sign it one way. If we did nothing, we might sign it another way, I
Check out with
suppose.
V-Trans to see what their recommendations are. I mean, a lot of times they'll look at something and have, you know, they have like sign gurus who look at intersections like this and make recommendations, so
Yeah.
it's.
Hold on. Hey, Wendy, is it possible to turn up the speaker a little bit? Just because it is hard, I think, for everybody to hear.
Fan, yeah.
I don't know, it's much better now,
That's
huh?
louder.
Yeah. Okay. And so, Mike, are you saying that because they signed it to be, it was their project to begin with, we don't have any authority to?
Not really to take them down, or, I mean, we have to go through them because we agreed to let them do it. Their engineers looked at it and designed all the signs on there, what should be there. So I'll have to contact them to come back and say, all right, so if we're gonna change the intersection, we're gonna change it, do you wanna re-sign this?
Right.
So that'll be up to them to look at.
Would you be willing to do that?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to see if we can
Yeah.
improve the signage there? Because that
But
seems to be
I
a
just
big,
want to say, I don't care what sign you put up, unless they're going to pay attention to it, and, you know, we've talked about that like
Yeah.
on the hills, lowering the speed limit. You can put whatever sign you want up there, you can make it 10 miles an hour, but if there's nobody there to enforce
Yeah.
it,
well, I mean, that's true all around, but
Right.
there is a point to it, even if it's not as effective as we would hope it would be.
Right.
Well, you're right, Mike. I mean, it's the human factor. People are going to speed. They're not going to pay attention to the signs, but there's a lot of people that will pay attention to the sign above that blind hill, because that's what that is. I mean, you had 21 slide-offs. I remember a car from New Jersey plates on. They used to
Yep,
look
yep.
nice at Burlington. And he came over the hill.
Hold on one second. We're just gonna, you need a microphone so everybody can hear you. No, it's not us, it's people on TV.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, my thing is, if there would have been a sign up above the hill to begin with, that person from New Jersey apparently wasn't familiar with the road, coming from Charlotte at night, and that car hit the ditch down there and went up into almost into the field. It dislodged the airbags, and there was nobody there. The car sat there till morning. Yeah, people do speed, and they ignore signs just like they do around the school.
Well, are you recommending something? Are you
Yeah, I
saying?
think there should be a sign up.
Okay,
I mean, Tom Martin got his sign for the hidden driveway.
okay.
Why can't you stick a sign up there? It might save somebody's life. I mean, how much does the sign cost?
Fair-
$200?
fair
Time to
enough.
Put it in?
Okay,
I mean, that's my point. It's kind of common sense issue, but.
point taken. Does anybody else on the select board have any thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question about the stop sign and seeing that the existing one there appears that it's moving back because it's in a dangerous place right now. You're basically stopping at the place where if people lose control coming down the hill, they'll broadside you. And so on your plan, you're moving it back further.
I'm not sure.
Can you go one more down? Yeah, so right now I have the stop sign
Yes.
right there with the stop bar and the stop letters there. It is back a little bit from kind of the existing, if you were to follow the Charlotte corner around, it is back a little bit from there. And basically the way it's designed in there, VTrans has a pretty specific stop sign detail of where it should go compared to the intersection, how far
Yes.
back the stop bar can be, where the stop sign's related to the shoulder, and and they give you a range. I don't remember what the range is at the top of my head, but it's within that range.
Yeah. So the stop sign is, you come to the stop sign first, and then you have the stop bar in front of the stop sign.
I believe it's the other way around.
No, that's kind of what I thought you were
no, I'm
supposed
sorry.
to
No,
do it
it's-
the other
yeah.
way.
You're right.
So to me, I
The
thought
stop
there was
sign-
a situation where you had two stop bars.
It shows it on the drawing where the stop sign
Yeah,
is, which is
I-
just behind
Just behind there.
the stop bar, and then there was an old one removed that was in front.
Well, it hasn't been removed. It's
Okay.
the one that's there
Kind
now.
of looks like that sign is placed there, so you can see it coming down.
Yeah, that's the old stop sign. That's what I was saying. I put the old stop sign there just for reference, so everything is
Right,
pulled
right.
back.
And
Yeah,
so
sorry.
that makes sense to move it back, but it is standard practice to put the stop bar after the stop sign.
I'll double.
Because, when you said, when they did the North Road,
Yes,
at the intersection of North Road and 116, the stop bars are
Right.
30 feet from the stop.
well, there's two stop bars.
Yeah.
One to take a right and one to go straight. And I questioned that, and they said, legally, you're supposed to stop at the stop sign,
Yes,
and then proceed, and
Yes.
if you need to stop again, stop at the stop bar.
yeah.
So, you're supposed to stop at the stop sign here, and then if you need to stop again, that's where you would stop, is at the stop bar.
Right, so that was my question is, do you have two stop bars? Or,
No, one. Or you could.
so, but the stop sign is.
I think that's kind of close together. to
Okay.
have two.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's a good question.
So Susan Johnson also talks about flooding and the culvert and the dip in the road, that it's just going to cause more and more erosion in these greater rains that we're having. And she said, wouldn't it be better to put money towards raising the dip and putting in a larger culvert under the road than putting the money into fixing Baldwin Road the way that we have thought to fix it?
You looked at the drainage around this intersection?
It's
Tyler?
completely,
I
it
think he's
doesn't
talking
have
about
anything to
way
do with.
Yeah.
down into the
Right.
Carr's
Way
farm
down.
field. I
Okay.
didn't look that far down. I know
Yeah,
it floods.
okay.
I didn't look at that though.
All right.
On Charlotte Road.
Yeah,
as you get-
yeah.
not even the
I think
corner,
I know what
It's
you
not
mean.
related to
Across
this
the
intersection.
Yes,
The one that
Right.
floods over all the time.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any
Half a
more
mile from this intersection.
comments or questions about the intersection?
Are there reflectors on the edge of the shoulder?
Yes.
Show.
Similar to what Mike had, but I think I made them yellow just so they stood out a little bit more on the snow and that kind of thing. But just because it is more of a drastic change to the intersection, I kind of used them as almost guides as you're coming. Right.
Do you see them? They're off of the pavement there.
If you zoom in a little bit more, maybe you can kind of see like there we go. Those kind of square with a line through it. Right there. I think they're every 6 feet or 8 feet. I don't remember. And they kind of help guide off of the shoulder just so people can see it as they're coming down or up Baldwin Road. and also when they're coming in from either direction on Charlotte Road, just to kind of be a visual cue, because people are so used to going straight.
And how deep is the ditch?
The ditch and the grading didn't change much.
Okay,
In there, everything was ditched pretty well and had fairly new culverts in there, so I didn't have any drainage or culvert improvements.
okay. So essentially what's happening is that we're changing where the actual paving is, but the width of that intersection now just has a much bigger shoulder on it before you get to the ditch.
Yes, so it's everything is the same width. This kind of semicircle shape
Yes.
is essentially being cut out. So that would be a wider section between the edge of road and the ditch.
Right, but it will stay flush the way it is now. It's not being cut.
It's not being cut. I did talk to, I think, Trevor and Mike way back when I first did this design of how permanent you want to make this. And what it's shown now is everything here would be cut out and it would be topsoiled, seeded, and mulched, so it would grow back in like field or grass. And that's the direction we went. Obviously, once you cut out the pavement that's there, put back topsoil, seed, and mulch, you can't just go repave it. You
Right.
have to, so
Right.
right now it's the same elevation, topography-wise, just seed, topsoil,
Yeah.
seed, and mulch.
And if we just cut out the pavement and we just had a gravel shoulder there, it will grow into grass.
Yeah, eventually.
Right.
Weeds.
Well, yeah, some shaping has to be done to it so it does drain into the
Yes,
ditch.
yeah, okay. But essentially, people are not going to go in the ditch it's...
It's not gonna be a drastic ditch,
There's
right?
more of a
Right.
buffer there.
It's a
Is that what
buffer,
you're getting at?
right,
Is
right.
If they were to blow through this, if they're going
Right.
fast enough, they're still gonna hit the ditch eventually.
Well, you gotta think about snow too. They're gonna slide down through the slot, so.
Right.
Wherever you put there, they're gonna hit it.
So there is a bit more room
That's
before
one
they,
of the things we discussed, is between that corner, and all the things that are going on at different times of the year, especially with snow. If you're coming from Hinesburg
Yeah.
and try to go up that hill, you're gonna be able to make a run for it. And you can see nobody's coming, it's a lot. Is it gonna bottleneck like it did last time with the setup you had, with trucks trying to pull in and out of there and some farm equipment? That's been an ag port for quite a while. It still is, not as much as it was, but
yeah, and I made, I basically made the radius as you're coming on and off the road, I think 10 feet larger than the V-Trans recommended radius, just for that reason. So, because people were kind of sweeping on and off, so I think the V-Trans recommended minimum is 30, and I went with 40. So it's got kind of a wide mouth to it, so as, anything from tractors, the trucks are coming
that's
on
the
and
thing
off.
you gotta think about too, and even in harsh conditions, it's interesting, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've lived over there for 23 years, in that area for 53, but you pinch that too much, like last time, when there was cars stacking on Charlotte Road, and over that blind hill, if somebody comes over that speed and not paying attention, and you're stacking cars, because it happened 2 times that I saw.
Yep.
And several different times other people saw it.
All right, we don't want to hear every story about it. We've heard these already. So do you have any more comments on the design?
It's a little bigger than the last one. And I think it's smart to do what we need to do with that corner. V-Trans doesn't travel that all the time, so it's, you gotta think about the whole scheme of things. At least it's back further, the stop sign's back.
It's
That
hard.
number-
It's hard to see just because it's kind of I graded out pretty well because this is a proposed plan, but the reflectors that were in there before in the wintertime, that's one. Oh, that's right. That's one there, and I think the other one's right there. It was the stop sign was the deflector, so probably got 6 feet on the shoulder on this side at least extra, and probably 6 to 8 feet on this side extra, so maybe 14 feet total, more width than it was
It looks a
before.
lot more room, that's for sure.
Yep.
Are these reflectors on a post or?
Yep.
on
Like a steel-driven post, almost exactly like the reflectors that were out there that Mike put out, just different color.
any more discussion from the board? Mike, do you want to just, if we were to move forward, what the process would be?
I don't know, I can't get my head above water now. Fall, I mean, maybe in time when they come do the paving?
To
get
do it at
ready.
the same time when
Yeah.
they come to pave?
Yep.
The prices I had on that cost estimate were assuming they were done with, you know, because you guys get a better rate when you do lots of projects in town, so the cost I put in there for pavement is the cost that Mike got to do the townwide project. So if you do it as a separate project, and you're not doing all of them, the cost would be higher than what I gave you guys.
Right. And you would be able to prepare it and be ready for paving, you think?
Be tight, but yeah.
And is it your recommendation, what's your recommendation on this? Go
Right there.
forward.
Yep.
Does the board want to make a motion on this?
What was the cost on it?
I think I had 18-ish, 18,000-ish, and then some of that was you know, kind of town road time and effort that I didn't put a number to, but there it is. Didn't have the extended price on there.
The total paving, 800 feet all the way to the top?
No,
or
that was
just in this
that was
area?
just the
Right.
intersection. Kind of the limits of the pavement that are there now. I think there was one more column that got cut off, maybe.
Yeah, we don't have the totals,
Yeah,
because, I mean, that third column is cut off.
it was $18,000 or so.
Okay, yeah.
Where is that document? Is that in our meeting packet?
It's, yes, it's number 3B.
I copied and pasted from my first
there it is.
email.
Got
Must
it,
have cut
got it.
off.
Got it.
It's
Yeah,
in my
got
it's
it.
in my first email that I sent.
Got it. All right, yeah, the last column is gone. So the answer to the question, my question was 18 minus, although it's not all cash, you're saying some of it is
Town efforts.
Town efforts, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a 25% contingency in there, just because I always add that when I estimate.
Sure.
Because I'm not a contractor or an engineer, so I always try to add a little bit of
Sure.
extra on top.
And the $65 a ton, what was the pricing we got?
I called Mike for the price
Okay.
to see what he had gotten for the overall town projects.
So we might want to be adding something in there for an additional sign if we get the okay from V-Trans.
Well, right, I'll have to work that out with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was part of their program, and
Yeah, that's interesting that they did not make any recommendations for changing this intersection or any signage when they came and did the safety study.
right. I don't know. And actually, and that one was one, we didn't get much of the information on that, the traffic studies. That was more like we got notice that they were doing it, and then we were told what signs were going up, and then they went and put the signs up. And some of the other ones, it's been, every
Yeah.
time that's gone on, it's been a different process,
Oh,
so.
okay.
Depending on who's doing it.
Hi?
Depending on who at the state, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. I mean, there were times we were putting them up, then we had to order them, and they would put them up, and I don't know.
But either way, the cost comes down to us on the signs. No?
Didn't cost us anything.
Doesn't cost us anything.
So do we want to make a motion on this?
I think Aaron did.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to go forward on this project. Let's see, you probably need specific language on this.
Baldwin
Yeah.
intersection project as
Yeah.
designed by East Engineering?
Yeah, so I was looking for, maybe on the agenda, we can get this. Yeah, make a motion to go forward with the Baldwin Road intersection project as outlined in East Engineering's proposal to us that we're reviewing. And then the paving to the top.
Maybe we'll
As
hold
dis-
off. Yeah, we'll do
Two
them separate,
separate.
I think.
So that's
yeah.
where I'll
Described
stop right
in
there.
the- In the engineering drawings prepared by East Engineering.
East Engineering.
Yeah, as opposed to outlined, because we have specific engineered drawings.
And we should have announced, so Val is not actually here, but she's going to be watching, and she's going to be taking our minutes. So every once in a while, look in and talk to her. Thank you, Val.
Very good, Renee.
Did you get that? Yeah. Okay, so is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Andrea, is there more discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Marilee, did you say aye too? Aye. Okay, and I'll say aye. I will say, Tom Ayer, we talked about it, he was in favor of it. I'm not saying that's how he would have voted after tonight, but he was in favor of it, so the motion's passed. So the second part, thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
The
Board.
second part of it is the extension of the paving up 800 feet. Maybe, Mike, you could just tell us, very briefly why you're,
Washboard and just from cars speeding up through there, so make it a lot better.
And what's the width that it will be paved to?
Whatever's there, we will, I mean.
Well, our standards say
Ours
18
24
feet
24,
for Class 3
but pavement
paved.
is
Okay.
24. So if we want to go 18, we'll keep it at 18.
And will it be a
It's just an
double-
apron. I
double
mean, it's
yellow
only
line?
800 feet, so I don't know, we can do whatever we want, I think, because we're not doing the whole road.
Right. Okay.
Beyond my future, maybe
Well,
they'll
it seems to me
pave
that
it.
if we pave it narrower, that will,
It-
maybe will encourage people to drive a little slower,
Yeah.
and we'll still have a very wide shoulder.
Yep.
yeah.
All right, yeah, we keep it at 18 feet.
Okay?
But the paving is starting down further on Charlotte Road,
Yeah.
because it ended up being, the total thing was 1,200 feet.
Right.
So it's coming down the hill on Charlotte Road a little. That was from damage from trucks and stuff earlier that we've gotten paid for.
Right.
Do we have a check? Yes. Yeah.
So is there a motion for this?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to pave it to 800 feet?
Yep.
Yep, 800 feet from the intersection to 800 feet out, which brings us just to the top of the hill
Top of the hill. Yep.
At 18,
at 18
Wide.
18 feet wide.
And with a yellow stripe on it?
It's all downhill, it's easy pushing.
It's
is
what?
there,
Well, we have to paint that. We would have to paint it with our hand sprayer. So
Oh,
start at
okay.
the top and come down.
All right.
is there a second? All right. And some discussion? I'll say that I think this came up before. I think we had a vote before, and I did not vote for it.
Right.
Because I was wanting to make sure that it was well thought out before we start adding additional paving. And I'm glad that we had some time to go through the season to see that we think it'll last, and it's a good improvement. And I think along with the intersection, it seems to make sense to add that to reduce the amount of maintenance. So, although it took a little bit of time, I think if we can tie it into this year's paving budget, it's probably, I think, better that we took our time and thought it out a little bit more. So for me, that helped anyways. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. So that motion passed. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is discussion about CB Road, which is off of Lincoln Hill, with resident. Yeah, just come and introduce yourself. You have to use the mic because it's on TV, so, sorry.
Scott Ross, I live first place on the left on CB Road. First off, I want everybody to know that I realize that it's a private road and the residents are responsible for maintaining that road, which we have done. In the interest of public safety and expense to the town, I would like to entertain the idea that the town participate somewhat in replacing a larger culvert in there. It's washed out. It's washed out in, I don't know, July of 2013, and then again just June of this year. I've got some pictures of the road that pass around.
Scott, can you explain where that culvert is in relationship to the town right away?
It's 55 foot from the center line of the road. Mike just,
From the center line of Lincoln
yes.
Hill?
We're talking about the intersection at Lincoln Hill and CB?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mike replaced the culvert at the very entrance of the road, put an 18 in there. And I don't know, my place has got 1963 scratched in the back side of it, so I'm not sure when that culvert was placed in there, but it's definitely undersized, and it would be quite a great expense to the 8 residents that live up there to bear the burden of the whole thing. I've given permission to the town on occasion to put additional cutouts up off Lincoln Hill down into that brook that goes down in there. To, you know,
Up
help.
above, you mean?
Yes.
Because that's your property there?
Yes, yeah. I know of, in July of 2013, they put 19 tandem loads in there just between the 3-footer that goes across CB Road and the 4-footer next. Now, this past year, it went beyond the next 4-footer, continued on down through. Mike was up there with the excavator for 4 days, and just figuring a loaded, I don't know what the town's loaded labor rate is, but just for thoughts and so on, you know, in 2013, there was 4 trucks and a grader, and they worked a good solid 8 hours up there, so just $100 an hour for each piece of equipment, man, overhead, wages, everything. $100 an hour, there's $4 grand there. This time it was 4 trucks, the excavator, 4 days, you know, 32 hours, that's 16,000 there. Plus what the town's incurred for the cost of plant mix, 6-inch minus, and everything else that they've put back in there. Seems like the climate's changing these days, and the rain's getting worse. There's, I don't know, 1,600 acres up in there that A. Johnson owns that's been logged, so the watershed is not supporting what it used to, and
So you're requesting, I think, that the town consider upgrading the culvert on the private road, a little off of Lincoln Hill.
I'm just asking the town to participate in it. At what level, we would take anything, but if, you know, if I can't spark some interest there, I'm just gonna, you know, keep the grade maintained so that when the culvert doesn't handle it, it heads directly for the town road and takes that out, you know?
So is there a solution you're saying that you're also proposing? Are you just saying a bigger culvert and that's the
A
answer?
bigger culvert would be the solution.
Yeah. And so it's 3 now, and do we know what the
Well,
solution?
since Irene, they'd probably want a 15-foot box culvert in there or something now, but
Okay,
you know, and this doesn't have to be answered right now.
yeah.
I mean, I asked Mike about it, and Mike abides by the, you know, the policy of private roads, but it makes good business sense for the town to get involved in this with some assistance, because it's gonna protect the town road.
Fair enough. Do you guys have comments, or do you want to ask Mike for his?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
of that direction now. Mike's shaking his head. Are we done talking about it?
Yeah,
I think
Mike
this is
doesn't want to.
definitely
Well,
a
I think-
Policy decision,
Yeah.
because that would be detracting from what the standard of the policy is, that you don't do work on private roads. So that would be a decision you guys would
The
have to
select
make,
board
but
would
really
have
think
to
about
make.
the future
Yep.
implications of that.
So can we talk about the future implications of that for a moment? Or do we have
How
enough
many
time
other private
tonight?
roads do we have in town?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean,
So-
I think based on the policy there, it does say the select board can make exceptions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you were to make an exception, then you probably will get more requests for more exceptions, but
Yeah, and
That-
I
that would
guess,
be
you
the-
know, to use a bad pun, that would open the floodgates to all kinds of people asking this. I guess that's what I'm kind of weighing in my mind. Is that reasonable to expect, or is this a one-off? What are we looking at? What's the decision we're making about this policy?
I think it's reasonable to expect that it would open the floodgates, just to see what happened with me and my neighbor with the last big rain we had and washed out our road. And
But in that case, I think the argument being made, whether it's right or wrong, is that if this culvert was upgraded, that, you know, Scott is saying, you'll protect the town road.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
So, Mike, what's your opinion? Forget the, you know, everything else. We gotta get you to be on record on what your opinion is.
You're not gonna like my answer.
Oh, I know, I've had,
Culvert,
you and
it's
I
a
have had
private
this
road, and I think the town has a legal responsibility that we could send you a bill for damaging it because that road's not being maintained properly.
But
Yep.
so I asked the question.
Right?
So I get that, Mike. That makes sense. That's our policy as it is right now. But is there a way that we can participate in a solution? That's what Scott's asking for. Is there a way that we can do that without, and still,
I think you're opening up a whole can of worms. There's miles and miles of private road in this town.
I would like to make a comment on that. Yes, there are miles of private roads, and they are not necessarily covered by all these new stormwater regulations. And I think that it is an opportunity for the town to identify all of those private roads that are contributing to participate in identifying how private roads are contributing to degrading our water quality. And so I think there are grant opportunities for the town and private landowners to participate in to do this is exactly what the state wants all of us to be doing, whether it's the town, homeowners associations, or what, to evaluate what that impact is on water quality, and that I think a way in which we could participate is to find out whether it is eligible for some grant funding that would help the town, because it would be improving the town. It's not necessarily town money. Private landowners would be asked to assist, and I think the precedent that it sets is a positive one, because we need to motivate private road homeowners to do something about the poor quality and the undersized of all those culverts. This one in particular impacts our town road, so there's motivation for us as a town to at least investigate whether it's eligible. There's many other private roads that may be impacting water quality. They don't necessarily impact our town roads. But in either case, our obligation is to be working towards improving water quality. So I think at least at that level, it would be worth our investigating whether it would be eligible and what an engineered solution would be, whether it's just a 4-foot culvert.
I don't think water quality has got anything to do with it.
Well, it's a stream.
It's you know, turbidity maybe.
Well, that's
further
exactly,
down.
that is water quality. Water, it's wash, where do you think that 4 truckloads of gravel went? They're going down into the
Platte
stream.
River ultimately.
Yeah, exactly, so that's water quality. And I think this is a situation where the least we can do
But
is...
if there is money sitting on the table in terms of applying for grants to get this done, we should absolutely pursue that.
Right, well, we should
Yeah.
first find out whether it's eligible.
Sure.
And
What's
start...
the process for doing that?
I think we call Regional Planning Commission and... What? Yeah, right, and DEC. And, you know, it's part of the Ecosystem Restoration Grant Program pays for these types of improvements.
I have to meet with Chris Dubin next week over that grant.
Yeah,
Okay.
New grant that came out from the DEC.
Yes,
have
which
time
is
to
due
talk to 'em about
August
that?
15th,
Yeah.
right?
We already got it.
I think there's some good room in that. Yes, we were part of that pilot.
Yeah, that's a separate one, yeah.
That's separate.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, at least let's let Mr. Ross know that,
I can contact the DEC. I'm a water operator. I
Okay.
deal with them all the time.
I think that's
And-
also, sounds like some educational outreach that we want to do as far as all, private roads. I think Mike Bissonette's here as a Conservation Commission. It seems like that was a topic, but maybe
That's not what I was going to talk about.
okay, I'll let you go.
Are you ready? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Actually, a couple of my questions already got answered. One of them was where the money would be coming from. And the other thing I wanted to note was when I rode around with Mike one time, there's a lot of driveways that affect our town roads too, and how is that going to affect this policy? And then the other thing I was going to ask is who is going to be the administration or the driving force behind this? What person in the town is going to be the person behind all this? Those were the questions that I had.
Behind all, if we were to actually do this?
Yeah.
You mean?
Who
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
person?
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's more, once the town finds out by talking regional planning and everybody else, if these grants are available for private, that the town could make it public. And then it's up to the private homeowners to go after those.
But your point
That's
is...
a possibility, but my point is, who's going to do the actual writing? And that's my point for the town.
What in the town?
Who's the administrator in charge of
The ones for the town? Me.
But as
And,
far as
well,
each
there's
private
lots of
road-
opportunities for
Right.
private
Road association,
landowners, the
private
road
owners.
association, partnering with other nonprofit groups that do this. There's a lot of opportunities to
My point is, somebody's got to coordinate this for the town.
absolutely, and absolutely. I think that's a great
Does,
understanding.
yeah. Does the CB Road have a road association?
Yeah, it's on everybody's deed, but you're looking at the association
Road commissioner.
right here. Yeah. I
Okay.
just coughed up the last $300 and spread it out on the apron at the town road.
Yeah. Okay, so and I think, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, you're concerned about if we were to go down this road, that it's a difficult road, and what you're implying is that the culvert, because it's undersized, it's washing out the town road, and I think what you're saying is that really it's CB Road Association that, you could be going to them versus the other way around, and so, that's a good understanding for me to have anyway, so, and that's where some of the other private roads and driveways, which we don't do now, but we could go and say, your driveway is washing away our road. Have we done that at all?
To a certain extent, yeah.
And that's usually just a discussion saying you need to fix your driveway.
Yep.
I think that's also something that was attempting to be addressed with the new stormwater regulations that are part of the zoning. You know, so at least for new development, we have the opportunity to correctly size those culverts and to do it. And so the question is, what can we do to be
Facilitate,
retroactive?
yeah.
And I think, you know, making people aware of what funding opportunities there are.
Yes?
Mike, is that something the Conservation Commission would be interested in doing, in educating people about the grant opportunities for fixing their roads that are available from transportation?
I'm not sure we're still learning about our role as a Conservation Commission. And I'm not sure, I don't want to say no on it because I haven't talked to the board about it, to the group about it. And that's not fair for me to just say yes or no.
Okay.
And you're saying grant opportunities. We're not sure they actually
Right,
exist.
we
So,
don't, right.
but it sounds like, Mike, you're willing to at least have a conversation and say, does this fall under any of the opportunities?
Right, because I also want to call Jim Ross from Iroquois Association, because I know they've gotten a couple of grants up there to do a lot of ditching and stuff along their road. And
Those are exactly the ones that anybody's eligible for.
Right.
Jim Ross lives right there around your boy.
Uh,
Jim Ross in town?
Pine Shore
Yeah,
Drive.
Pine Shore Road.
Okay.
Or you could call Pat Swazi. She's the president of Lake Iroquois Association. She's probably the most currently informed.
Scott, just for education, have you ever priced out what the larger culvert would be?
At
Or
at
a rough
least
estimate? Go
7
ahead, Mike.
grand to start.
7? You're way off.
Might
Because
buy
our
the-
hydraulic study for the
Might
two,
buy the pipe.
no, it's not buying a pipe.
How-
But for the two culverts on, the 4-footers on Lincoln Hill, they've been recommended as 5 by 12 box culverts.
Oh.
So it'd be quite pricey.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it should have. That puts
It's in between it, yeah.
That puts the 7 grand all to hell.
Yeah, that's just to look at it.
So who's the other gal at the Lake Iroquois?
Pat Swazi, S-O-U.
SUOZZI, right?
So usually,
No, I
SWAZZ?
think it's
SUO, is it
S-U-O
ZZI?
or O-U, yeah.
S-U-O or O-U?
One of them.
ZZI.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? So you didn't necessarily get what you want, but you got
Well,
some
I
information.
didn't come here
No,
expecting
yeah,
I'd get
right,
what I
no.
want, but I just, wanted to at least start the ball rolling with the town. I mean, I can do nothing and continue pecking a roadway through there. Many thanks to Mike, who got a hold of Greg Lyman to get his mini down there, because I couldn't reach it with the bucket of my tractor.
That's only because you wanted to get his machine out off your
Well, of
road.
course. I know you wouldn't do it specifically for
Oh,
me.
if I had
No,
to,
no.
I would've. I mean, that's,
Yes, I know you would.
Well, it's been an education anyways, and it does fit right into our next topic on the road standards policy, so. And, so Mike, I think you can let us know and let Scott know if there is anything, any opportunity. Okay,
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'll take my pictures back, and
oh, yeah.
oh, they're right here.
I won't bother anybody anymore.
No, that's fine. Yeah, this was very,
it washes out again.
Yeah, well.
so we'll just,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Next item on the agenda is to review the road standards policy. Do you want to, Renee, just sort of tell us the history of this, I think, as well as much as you know?
Well, I think the road standards that you have in this packet are very similar to, I think, what the Select Board reviewed in 2012, 2013. And so we had those online, but then looking back through minutes, we didn't find anywhere where they were actually formally approved and adopted. So this version, your packet, is at least similar to that. There was a page 20 missing, and so that's been added. There may be some graphs at the end that are also in addition to what was on the website, but very similar format and information. So I think tonight is just sort of a kind of a beginning discussion of these, review of them. And I also sent them to Alex because he had commented in the past about those that had been online. And he had some issues with regard to the DRB. So he wanted to have a chance of going through the document and redlining some pieces. And he'll be back for the August 31st meeting because that's the first public hearing for the town plan. So he was hoping that maybe we could have a discussion about it again at that point. So, but I think it would be really helpful to have a document that's been approved that we can go back to, and so for Mike's benefit, for you guys' benefit, when issues come up, you can point to a certain document. This is our policy.
Issues that come up like the one we just had.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's right. Yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
So it was a education to look this over yesterday, so.
Meet with them next week, that the DEC's come up with the standards that legislation's gonna pass, that we're gonna, to meet the new BMPs and all that, we're gonna have to go by. So that might throw this all out the window,
So that's important
to be eligible for grants and stuff.
So you'll need to follow their best management practices.
Well, this,
But these are-
this was the iteration the last time they had sent stuff out, but,
They're gonna
Yeah.
have the standards that we're gonna have to go
Yes.
by.
yeah.
So
Yep.
it might throw these right out the window, but
But in the meantime,
the
it's good to
meantime,
have these sitting
have
on the side.
something.
And I guess we've been using them maybe not as formal as they could be.
Right, yeah. And I think at one point, recently, they were finally taken off the website because we didn't have anything that showed that they were approved and they're,
well, it wasn't approved, and I think there was a page missing on the website.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
You just don't fill in the blanks as needed.
I tried, didn't work out so good.
So as we consider this and start this process, I would make the recommendation to put a date or a
Right.
version number.
absolutely, yeah.
So I
So
think
we're-
we have a standard that we were using for water and wastewater, and it would be good to put it in that same format.
Yeah.
Which I think had
Yeah.
a version,
Footer or
yeah.
Something that,
Yeah, it had a signature page on the front, which kind of set the,
You've mentioned this before.
yeah. Is that something you could
Yeah.
look into if you needed help? I could-
absolutely, no, I can do that.
Copy what we already do elsewhere.
Right, yep.
And I think the suggestion would be, I had a chance to look at it, I saw some typos and stuff. The technical information you've looked at, Mike, I assume, and you feel like it's there.
Those were the ones that were put together even before 2012. I think that was way back 2009, 2010 even.
Yeah.
That we really, there was a big packet, and I thought there's a folder or something I brought down that everybody was kind of involved in it, trying to come up with standards, and this is the result.
Did this come out, or come to creation because there were no...
Because I think our previous road standards that we had, that the town had, was a page and a half. It was pretty
And we
limited.
need to have road standards to be eligible
For grant funding.
not for, just for a reimbursement for, if we weren't following the state-issued road standards, then we were not going to get reimbursed for damages when
Right.
things, so I think that was the origin of
So
these.
we probably had a situation like that, we needed this. And so-
Well, no, you
I
had
think
to adopt
initially
them
it was,
before.
initially it was grant funding, because if we don't have the
Yes.
standards,
Yes.
we lose,
Right.
it adds another 10 or 20% to a grant. But then it was that afterwards, yeah.
So I would, a couple things I would like to see. One is, I think we should mention the complete streets legislation in the forward.
In there, yeah.
In the beginning.
And we could even say, here's one way we're working on it, and that the complete street says every time you look at changes, you consider that. We should put that kind of language in there, I agree.
And whether we can put in something in here, under the, the driveways, drainage, ditches, whether we need to put something in the policy that if we find that it's not being maintained, that we will,
I think it's in there.
There's something in there.
I
There's
thought
a
there was
fine.
something in there.
it's a
but-
little,
Yeah.
it's not as strong as it could be.
Because what happens now is especially in an area where we're actually working at, where we're ditching or something, we'll go up into a driveway a little ways to try to get the water back in the ditch, and then can catch the homeowner or something, talk to them about it, and then maybe they'll do it. Most likely they don't. And that's what I don't want to get into. Of course, we've been doing it for years, but it's a bad habit where they're going to go, you know what, I'm going to wash it out. Town's just going to come in and fix it.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm wondering if we can put some
More
stronger
language in there,
language in
yeah.
here that we will fine you if
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
I think
Or-
is that something you could
That'd
just
be
look
a
at?
big help for
Yeah.
us, yeah.
So that you could point to this and say, look, your driveway, is causing this damage, and based on our road policy.
Our road standards,
And-
it's a policy and
Yeah.
standards, and, you'll get like 3 warnings, and, I mean, I don't know legally whether we can do that, but it seems like we do have to be stronger about this.
I mean, it does say that if, a new road that is done, if there's maintenance issues and that, we can require that it be fixed. That would be through the DRB, I would guess.
It becomes a zoning
Yeah.
violation.
On a newer
Right.
development.
Newer
or road,
developments, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, we're not going to make any decisions today, but I do see everybody sort of nodding their head that this is a good thing to move forward with, that maybe we get Alex to, we start a track changes
Yes,
sort of
yeah.
document, and give everybody a chance to find typos or question things over the next couple weeks, and, maybe we'll be at a point at the meeting in August 30th?
August 31st, I think it is.
August-
The first public hearing.
The
for
public hearing, to maybe have a short discussion and say, is it getting close enough to move forward? Would we need to adopt this policy? We wouldn't need to do anything?
Once you're ready to do it, we would need to, you guys would need to formally adopt.
No, we would need a public.
It's
Oh,
not
no,
like an
no,
No,
ordinance,
not for
no.
a
We just
policy.
adopt it,
That's
right.
for an
That's what I was
ordinance, there
getting
has
at.
to be a
Yeah,
public
right.
Hearing, but for a policy, no.
But if we were to put some kind of penalty in it, we might have to be
Yeah, it
an
would have
ordinance.
to be an
So
ordinance.
that's what we should really find out.
Yeah.
Then who's going to enforce it too?
Yeah.
Right. So since we've never had it, and, do we want to go that route, or do we want to
Well,
just
I ju-
add some detail in here that, and, perhaps get feedback after a year that says, look, we need to go in that direction? I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
I'd like to find out legally whether what we can and can't do in that regard.
Yep. I think we're going to find out if it's causing damage to the town road. We could charge them for it, for the damage that's done.
Right. So we should just spell that out, that we have that authority within this policy, so we can point to it, like, we're not saying, like, we can do this.
We're
We should
And I know,
quote the
because that's
chapter.
what's gone on with the state, because all the roads, culverts that are parallel to the state, they're saying belong to the homeowner now, where the state previously used to. And they're saying if you don't maintain it and it washes the state road out, we're gonna send you a bill for all the damage it's done.
So there's a couple things. We maybe should add something about complete streets just to show that it's been addressed, because it's supposed to be. Take a look at what our authority would be for, you know, if somebody's private road does damage the town road. And send it out for track change comments, I think.
Well, and the other thing is whether we're calling it our, you know, in our road policy or our transportations. Because in the beginning, it does talk about sidewalks
It does,
and roads
yes.
away, so.
It does, yeah.
I mean, maybe there's two sections to it, and part of it are standards and part of it is policy.
Does that sound all right to you?
Yes.
All right. Any other comments from the
I
board?
think being able to see it and track changes and do that editing would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a few typos and things that but, you know, I thought I'd wait till
Yep.
it's at a certain point to do that. Any other comments, Mike? All right. Shall we move on to item 6? Consider approving the Vermont Alert System as the official emergency notification system. A couple meetings ago, we had a very exciting presentation about the possibilities of this emergency notification system and how it can integrate with some of the town departments and water, wastewater, fire, police. We've had, what's that? Public health. Public health. We've, road closures maybe. So there's a lot of possibilities for it. And you can incorporate as much as you want. They provide, it costs nothing. They provide the training on how to do it. They run the website and all the background to it. Both Chief Koss and Al Barber, Chief Barber, stated they were in favor of it. And I think others from the town were in favor of it. And I think if we were to move forward, then Renee, you probably would kick it off by providing a list to them of who would be initially trained and whatnot.
Actually, we've already started that
Okay.
process, so I've reached out to Randy, who did that presentation to us. I talked with Al, so it made sense to have someone from the fire department, some police department, someone from at least town clerk, town administration, to be trained. And I don't know,
Water, wastewater?
I mean, they thought that was, at least so there's enough people that someone can always have someone to contact. So
Okay.
Mike could always contact one of us.
I
If
see.
he needs to report something, Eric or whoever can contact one of us. So there's always
Okay.
somebody, even if,
Got
you know.
ya. So you'd have four
So at
key
least
people
have
that
four
can be.
key people
yep.
that would be trained. I've tentatively put out a request to set it up for August 30th at 10 a.m. It'll be like between 90 minutes to a 2-hour training. And then once we're trained, it could be effective that next day. So,
And you think we should go forward with this too?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been an issue for a lot of different things that we haven't been able to provide efficient notification to people. And so we've been trying to scramble and, you know, make phone calls and things, and we don't have the capacity of the staff to do that in an effective and efficient manner. So this provides that.
Yeah, I think so.
Make a motion to approve the Vermont Alert System as the official emergency notification system for Hinesburg. Is that what you need?
Yep, and also either add to that or make another motion that would authorize me to write that letter, so there's a letter that needs to be sent to them.
And authorizing the town administrator to write that letter authorizing that to happen.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any comments, questions? Go.
So my understanding is that, that this will work if people are connected to the internet, if they have a cell phone, and if they have a landline.
Right.
So whether you opt into this or not, Vermont Alert has that information to be able to send it to you.
I think there's different levels.
Right, so that's what my question is, like, how useful is it if people still only have a landline, or they choose not to opt into it?
So Al is watching right now, so I'm expecting I'll get a text
Okay.
response from him.
So I believe the state has the authority now, if there was a national emergency, your phone will ring.
Yes.
Your cell
Yes.
phone will ring and all this. This gives the town the ability to sort of break into that system too. And for, I think, most of the notifications, you would need to sign up and say, I want these texts.
So if there's any like risk of life engagement, those are automatically going to go out to everyone anyway. This is a system, depending on how we want to do it. So if it's for water, wastewater, if we want to isolate the water, wastewater users in the system, we can send something out with their bills, notifying about this is our official notification system. If this is a means that we can give you an immediate, warning of what's happening or updates of when the work's going to be done, and so here's how you can sign up.
Right, so people do have to sign up for it to be noticed if it's for the water, wastewater kind of thing and not life and death, or if there's a road closure.
Right.
So it's incumbent on us to notify people that if they want this, and then we should probably put some kind of disclaimer in there. If you choose not to, don't be calling us.
I'm sure the training will help with how to do that notification.
Yeah, absolutely. Al's still writing, but we've already used this system twice. I'd reached out to him because I'd mentioned at one of these meetings that we're really looking for ways to notify people quickly, and so he told me about this system. So we've used it twice. Obviously, it only went out to the people who had signed up at that
Right.
time.
And I imagine through Front Porch Forum and other things,
Yeah.
you can,
Yes.
repeatedly go out there and say, if you want to be notified for these 3 things,
Yeah, and I
Give us
know
your-
that certainly the businesses, the schools, all of
Yeah.
those are going to be very receptive to this.
Yeah.
And I think any homeowners that have been impacted by the different issues, they would appreciate this as well.
What were the situations where you used it twice?
During the water main breaks that we've had recently this summer, back in June. So I would contact Al, he would initiate the system, and so I think it was Randy Bronson would put it into the system, isolate it to Hinesburg. But again, it only went out to the people who were already signed up. So then we used that. We also put something on our Facebook page and town website.
I happened to be in the town hall when the field was flooding down there and Lincoln Hill was getting washed out, and Tony Campbell came in and he was going to put it on Facebook, and I'm thinking, who's going to be looking at Facebook if they're driving their car, and that
Right.
would have been a really good use for it, I would think.
Yeah, so I think that might have been one of the times we used it. As soon as I was aware of that, and Al and I started communicating that it was used, I think it was used 2 times is what.
So this, unless it's some kind of state emergency like a hurricane situation, this would only go out to people who have signed up for it? And it would go out via email, cell phone, and landline, or would somebody choose one of those options?
I would think you choose. When you sign up, you say, here's my landline, here's my cell phone.
Right.
And I do believe the town, if we're in this, the town would be able to sort of declare an emergency, right, and submit it?
Yeah, I mean, as far as depending on what it is that we're wanting to provide notification for, obviously we can't provide notification. There's a garage sale here or there. It's actually important information that needs to go out.
Didn't you say during his presentation, they can break it down to where, like, if it's gonna be just the hills that are
Right.
closed or
Absolutely.
something, just the hill residents
Yep.
will get that notification? or-
Yeah.
It's very select.
Yeah. So Al's also saying every time you send an alert, you get email with number of people reached. So I think they also used it when the Lost Horse was on North Road. They used that system.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
They can geo-fence the areas, which is basically isolating the certain areas that they want the messages to go out to.
I already have it for weather alerts on my cell phone and through my email account.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just trying to understand how the town would use it. For emergencies only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also the town can use it for these other purposes, like the water main breaks or road
Right,
closure.
that's an emergency.
Right, yes.
Well, it's a plan, some of it is planned emergencies.
Yes, so-
I mean, planned events that
Communication.
we're going to be, it's communication on situations that are impacting a wide group of people. I mean, I don't think we're going to send an alert out to an individual homeowner if we're shutting off the water going to their house.
No,
An individual, it would be if we're shutting off a whole system.
yeah.
So it's,
So, and if
So-
we're planning to, like when you just did the work and we had to close, what was it, Lincoln Hill Road? Lincoln Hill Road, we can put
That
that
was an
out there.
emergency,
Lincoln
yeah.
Hill Road's gonna be closed on this day for
Right.
this window of time.
To Lincoln Hill residents, if you
Right.
wanted, yeah.
right.
I mean, it
I
sounds
guess I'm-
like, it sounds like everybody's in favor of it. I mean, and we'll learn more about it as you get
Absolutely.
trained.
I just think it's a really good communication tool for us, and it addresses the issues that people have had and the concerns that have been raised to the town.
So Renee, do you know of any drawbacks? I have heard nothing negative about this. No downside.
I haven't heard of any downside. I mean, I think this is a step in the right direction for us. This is giving us, allowing us to get the information out in a quick and efficient manner.
But I guess I would like to stress that it's a communication technique. I don't think we want to be alarming people that each one of these things is kind of an emergency in
No.
which there's life or
Absolutely.
death. It's a communication technique that impacts your daily routine.
Right.
But it's not like, it's
And
not a
that's
health
why the
alert.
training is mandatory.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and that's why only certain people are allowed to be,
Right.
Yeah.
they have to attend the training.
So I think the potential downfall would be if the people who are trained are not using it, using it in foolish ways. And I think our town people and the people who will be trained will use it appropriately. So,
Absolutely.
and if they were using it inappropriately, the state would probably do something. So I think there's very little. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. So we have a motion on the table, and it's seconded. All those in favor of approving the Vermont Alert System as the official emergency notification system for the town, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. And there's none opposed, so that passed. Val?
Yeah, hi Val.
Number 7, consider setting the fiscal year 18 tax rate. So we have a draft sheet. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to pull it up.
I just made one change from what you guys had seen in
Ooh, okay.
Dropbox. It does, I put a new one. I don't know if you're able to do it from the link, but I just removed what you're seeing here.
Oh, the estimated
Yeah, because
one.
that wasn't from, yes.
Okay.
That was just from the last version.
So
it's-
what would be removed from the summary sheet is next to the grand list, it said estimated 1.08% growth.
Yeah, so
And
that
so the
was
number's
prior.
the same,
That was back from when you were doing the budgeting
yeah.
piece, so that text was removed.
And that grand list comes right from the reappraisal?
Yep, so this is the accurate number from the grand list.
And I think I was talking to Tom Ayer a little bit, just noting we can say what the previous tax rate was for 2017 was, for the town, 53.5371 cents, and the overall was $2.21.65 cents. $2.2165. So it's gone down, but it's also a year of a reappraisal, so it's hard to sort of exactly say where it lands.
So, I mean, people, once they got their reappraisal, a lot of people's appraisals went up, some people went down. So this tax rate, it's hard to compare apples to apples last year because we weren't working on the reappraisal, so.
Right. But the bottom line is that people are paying about the same as they were.
Yeah.
And the fact is that through the reappraisal process, we only had one person who came in to make a claim. So I think
Right.
most people were comfortable with their new appraisal and understand it.
Right.
I would just suggest that on the rate summary sheet where it says below estimated property tax rate, on the one that you sent out 2 hours ago,
Yep.
that somehow we say that that's the state.
Where are you at?
We have our local tax is the first one.
The second.
The second, estimated, it's our education property
here.
tax.
It says estimated property tax
That-
rate.
That's
it's
just how it's been written on every one. I mean,
But
that's
it's
the
really
same.
the education. It's the education tax rate. I don't know, just, and it, isn't it?
It's important to note that
Yeah,
that
that-
additional tax is the educational
Right,
piece.
the first number is our municipal and the second number is education.
Right. So the 49 cents.
So
is the
you'll
town.
see on the second page of, related to that is what we got from.
Right.
Yeah, the state for the education piece.
So just if it, the first one is our town document. Right?
And the second one
And
comes
the
from
second one is
Vermont.
from the state, so I just, for point of, if somebody's ever looking at it, they'll know what we're talking about.
And I guess really all we're approving is the town, is the state.
Right.
Is what it is. Yes, Mike?
The thing that I questioned this was this education part. It wasn't as clear on this one as it was last year.
Say that again, sorry.
The education part I didn't think came out as clearly this year as it did last year.
This
And-
is the same format as used every year.
Well, last year's had CVU and had
Oh,
listed.
I can speak to that because
Yeah.
that's because of the merger, and so they no longer break it out into
That was
the
my
separate
second
schools.
question, was how has the merger affected that part of the tax rate? Did that affect it at all?
I guess I don't have a specific answer to that, only we did contact, Missy did contact CVU or CSS, well, now it's CV, the new school district, Champlain Valley School District, and that's what they said, they don't separate it out anymore because of the merger. It's not separated out in the two, but it's still the same number. The number is the same, it's just not showing what the portion of HCS versus the portion of CVU, so.
And that's the 139?
What's that?
And what number is that one?
Let me just get,
The 139.
1.39.
139. So last year's number was 0.53 and 1.17 for the schools?
0.53 plus 1.17,
Yes.
so it was one.
No, I lied.
No, it was
It's
more.
1.17 for the school and 0.51.
yeah, it went down this year.
It did,
was-
it did? And I was
Yes,
wondering
yeah,
how much it did.
No, it was good news. It was
So,
definitely
yeah.
good news.
So
It
it's
went down.
affected the tax rate by lowering it many
Yeah.
pennies?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah. I read the wrong number.
yep.
Any more discussion on it?
I'll make a motion to set the town property tax rate at .4931.
I don't think we've made a motion of separating them out. I think
Okay.
it's the final.
All right.
Yeah,
Then, of the residential tax rate of 1.8865 and the non-residential tax rate of $2.0037
Those
for
are
the
totals,
fiscal year
totals.
2018. Total tax rate.
Is that, okay?
Yep.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, any more discussion? I think, Andrea, it is a good point to say, I think our town assessors and those associated with it thought that it was a very good assessment. And you're right, they had only one contested.
One appeal.
one appeal. So compared to last time was 14 or was more. So hopefully that's an indication that the assessment was fair and equitable, which is what you hope for. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. There's none opposed, so Val, the motion passed. Next item is potentially approving replacement of the town hall curtains and fixtures. Does anybody want to speak to this, or do we want a motion to start?
Well, I'll speak to it. I mean, I guess I had felt that the curtains really did help with the acoustics in this room, and that we should try to get them back up, and that they had failed because the support curtain rods were not adequately sized for them. And
These are the ones we see now.
yes.
Yep.
I asked Sparky Milliken if he would take it on as a person who's familiar with building systems, and if he would get a quote on what it would cost to do that, so that we could include it in our budget. I think he got this information for us last year, almost a year ago, August 1st, 2016. And we did include it, I believe, in our budget.
2,000, I think.
$2,000, yeah.
Yep.
Fixtures, I think.
So I think the question is whether we would want to get other quotes from other companies, or whether he got a quote from Gordon's, or whether I think this is a budget. I mean, I don't really think it needs approval by the select board to go ahead with this. But I just wanted to
Are the
see if it, what, the,
The curtains still exist?
yes, the curtains still exist.
Right.
They
yeah.
did.
Where are the
So-
curtains?
The curtains, I think, are stored downstairs in one of the storage, in that little catch-all
Okay.
place.
I think they were cleaned and they were stored.
Were they cleaned?
I don't know.
I don't think they were, but I couldn't let
But
someone else take it.
and I don't know who's going to make it, who's going to move this forward.
In order for this to move forward, I would think we would hire it to be done.
Right, but who's going to make the phone call? I mean, do we need to, I mean, you know, do we want to ask somebody to coordinate this, volunteer, or is this something that Renee will
I
do,
guess,
or Eric as buildings and facilities, or I'm unclear about how this would move
I would
forward.
agree with that, and so I would just put that question to you.
Yeah, how would we
work
move
best for you?
forward? What's gonna,
Well, I mean, it sounds like what you guys approved in the budget or kept in the budget was the 2,000 just
Right.
for the more
Right.
appropriate type of rod fixtures. So the curtains would be a separate thing if you're wanting to explore another option beyond what the existing
I
curtains.
Well, they had given us a price for different
Right.
acousticals.
Right, but
I
that
would-
would be beyond what you guys
yeah,
had
I
included
mean,
in the
in my
budget.
opinion, I mean, it'd be open, but we would put the other curtains up.
Back up.
And, you know, because they look bad, but they were all kind of saggy, and I guess we could see how that works, and if we find it's totally inappropriate, we could have more discussion about whether we want to spend more money, but it seems like putting up the hardware and getting the curtains back on would be
Yeah.
a good first step.
So I think that goes back to Andrew's question, who would
Right.
coordinate that? And so it would need to be somebody that can replace all of those, put in the new fixture rods, right? Mm-hmm. Yep, and, I mean, I can certainly ask Eric if that's something, I don't know if you guys have someone in mind who would be,
Well, no, I think Gordon's would come and do it.
they would come,
This,
and- they
that's
would
their
come do
price.
that part.
That's their price. They're doing it. It's a question of calling them, who's going to call them up, who's going to,
Yeah.
you know, get them the curtains.
Schedule the appointment, get them in the
Right.
room, make sure there's no
Is
one using
their price just including installing the actual fixture
I think the
rods?
fixture and hanging the curtains.
And they would hang the curtains
think
for that
so.
$2,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my
Do you
understanding.
think we could ask Sparky to help us with that?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
If he
Oh,
would do
be
that,
great.
that would be
Wouldn't that be
great.
good?
okay,
That
okay.
would-
That's
Is
all
that
I wanted to know.
something that you'll ask?
I will be glad to
All
ask
right.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it
If
comes
he
in,
can coordinate it,
Yeah, if it turns out that it's more than 2,000, then I think that we'd
Right.
have to,
Okay.
talk about that, but if it's,
Well, I mean, I would, I guess I'd be willing to say, authorize you up to $2,500 to buy the things and get them hung and, because there might be some additional, maybe they need to be cleaned, I don't know. So,
Isn't there already a provision where there's authorization for the town administrator to?
yeah.
yeah,
What is
Yes.
that number?
so
I think it's what, 30, I don't know if it's 25, 3,500.
Yeah, so
I'd
whatever
be up
number
with
is,
that, yeah.
just
And
stay at that number. Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
So that's already in place.
Yeah, exactly.
are you okay with that, Andrea?
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
I'll ask Sparky and he'll be in touch
Yeah.
with them and then
Yeah.
can call, I mean, I assume during business hours is when they could come in
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I mean,
somebody
I
just
know
has
that
to show them where the curtains are, I think.
As long as the curtains, I don't know if there's any repair work that needs to be done
That-
on the little
yeah.
hanger things on the curtains, because I know a lot of them were drooping and hanging, so I don't
So
know if
hope-
there was missing some.
Hopefully Gordon's would tell you,
can
and if it
assess
seems
that.
reasonable, then maybe we'll have curtains in a month.
I think VCAM would appreciate having
Yes.
something to block the
I
light.
think everybody, I mean,
And-
it's the number, I don't know where I was last week, but I was somewhere and I got accosted by a lot of people just sort of saying the acoustics is horrible.
Yeah.
And they can't hear, and so we are trying to use the speaker, which I think helps some, but,
And then the next thing we'll work on is the lighting.
yeah. All right, so I think we don't necessarily need a motion, we've just,
We just have an understanding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. Next item on the agenda is, sorry,
I think you need a motion, don't you? Because you're authorizing this expenditure over a certain amount that we.
well,
that the
it's
board
already in
set.
it's already in the budget.
The 2,000 they'd already included in the budget for that
Well,
purpose.
I knew that, but I just, okay. All right.
I think
Yeah.
we're okay.
I have the minutes from,
So the next item is consider approving and signing the loan closing documents for lease financing. I don't actually think we need a motion because we've already approved it. This is just Renee saying, don't leave until you sign the documents.
right.
And there's about
I
five
think you
places.
could go ahead and make a motion to sign it,
Okay.
authorize me, or whatever, to be the person, the.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
To sign the rest of the paperwork.
Yeah, because there's tax-related things that needs a,
The cover pages do require up to 3 select board members, and then there's some additional
authorized.
authorization. So
Representative.
I guess we could have a motion. I'll propose a motion to approve the town administrator to sign the loan documentation and have the select board sign the cover pages as necessary for the lease financing.
Second.
Any discussion? Again, this was all approved at the last meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
All right?
Aye.
Aye. The motion's passed. Okay, town administrator report.
My goodness, it's been the typical busy weeks. I've got, like what I did with you last time is just kind of talked about what's on the agenda for the upcoming meetings. So August 17th, our next scheduled meeting, we are going to be discussing the issue on Gilman Road again, as far as concerns
Oh, good.
related to the rats and so.
Okay.
One of the neighbors
And will
is
Kent,
asked.
Kent be here?
I will have Kent be here as well.
But it's not a, we're not going to become the health board. This is,
They're wanting to address their concerns
Okay.
and their frustration with the continued issue that, so I think that's
Fair enough.
more about what that one's going to be about. And I think it'll also provide Kent an opportunity to
Update
communicate,
us.
update what has been done so far since he's taken over and what other paths he's found that we could explore. So that is all I have right now for that meeting. August 31st, we'll be doing the first public hearing
the town plan.
of the town plan. We have a agency request review committee applicant that you can interview at that meeting. And then we'll also be continuing the discussion on the road standards from today.
Okay.
So that's the next 2 meetings.
So we need 2 public meetings for the town plan,
Yep.
and we have those both
The
scheduled?
first one is August 31st, and the second one is September 25th. And between that, there's a September 18th meeting that you guys wanted to have the town manager discussion.
Yes, that's right. So the board will have a discussion about whether we wish to pursue the town manager option, which would require a vote at town meeting, potentially. And I would expect we'll probably get some public comments at that point where people can weigh in whether they feel it's a good idea or not. And I know there's a couple people talking about it in town, one way or the other.
I also had mentioned the last time that there was a trucking company that wants to come before you guys and discuss the overweight permit fees. So do you guys have a preference of what meeting you want to address that?
I think the next one is
The
pretty.
Yeah.
17th?
August 17th?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. All right.
Is there anything else for town administrator report?
I think that is it for now.
Okay, a select board forum?
I just have a question. Did you say on the August 31st, we're going to discuss town manager versus town administrator?
No, that's the September 18th meeting. You guys had tentatively requested a
Okay.
discussion at that meeting.
Okay, is there anything written? I've really looked and not found much, except for something that was described as the elevator description from Hinesburg.
In state statute.
State, yeah.
Yeah, in state
Of town
statute, it's
manager, but
town
not a-
manager is state
Not
statute.
much of a town administrator.
I mean, I think you could go onto the VLCT website. You have.
I have found,
And how about that?
Because I think because it's not something by statute, every
That's right.
town does it their own way.
Your,
right.
the select board handbook, does that have anything from VLCT?
I haven't really gone through that with a fine tooth comb, so it may.
All right, but that's good, so we'll have to look
And
for
each
some.
job
so-
description is different based on each town, like what Andrew was speaking to.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it would be good if we had some stuff to read about it, I
Yeah,
feel. I
well,
would
we can
like
try to dig some up. I'm sure there's got to be documentation comparisons, because a lot of towns have gone through this process,
Right.
and, you know, you're weighing one against the other, and what the benefits and what the drawbacks are.
I
Well,
could
the
cer-
definition, I mean, I think we could look at how the job descriptions of town administrator from a variety of towns. I mean, I think the job description for a town manager is going to be fairly standard.
That's
But
right,
the
that's a
job
state
description for a
statute.
town administrator is going to vary by every town.
I think VLCT could probably help us pull that together or get some other ones, so we could reach out to.
They do offer to come out and talk about it, give a
Yes.
workshop about it.
But they're only going to tell us how the town how a town manager works.
Okay.
Because, I mean, and they can talk in generalities, but I think because it's not something that is codified by statute, every town can choose how to describe the job
Okay.
themselves.
All right, anything else with the select board forum?
I can ask a question about Chittenden Solid Waste. And I know they had a meeting out of our meeting recently. And do we have any knowledge about how that went? And where we're at with it?
So when you guys had made your motion at, what meeting was that? The July 6th?
This was a motion-
27th? Is that the one we talked about this? And they met on August 2nd, is that correct?
Well, yesterday was August
Oh, no,
2nd,
no.
so
So
no, this would be
20th
the
and then
20th, so
26th.
probably the 20th. So we were going to give them a
Yeah.
week deadline
Yep.
to make a clear-cut decision if they were invested in Hinesburg, if they wanted to stay. They needed to make a decision so that we could move forward with our process, submit our Act 250 permit, and keep the project moving forward in a timely manner. So Andrea, Phil, and I attended the executive board meeting. Prior to that meeting that day, we'd sent the letter that Phil had wrote on behalf of the select board, and it was giving that deadline that we needed their decision by that Wednesday. So this was a Monday meeting. Their regular board was meeting on Wednesday. So I sent the letter to Sarah Reeves, the general manager, and requesting that she share it with both of their boards. We came to the executive board meeting. We discussed that they had seen that letter. They understood the the need to have a new well drilled based on the regulations that they had to follow for being 100-foot setback from an existing water source or drinking water source. So we talked about how the town had discussed that early on in the budget process as far as doing this work in preparation for the town garage. We looked at our existing well. We talked about how we could use that same well. We wanted to get it tested to be sure that it would be a potable source. We had it tested. It was. Even though at that time they weren't using it for drinking. Drinking water potable water has to be for hand washing, for showering, for any of those uses. They are now drinking it because now that it's been confirmed that it is safe, but also, irregardless of that, with the new garage, there's showers, there's an eye wash station, hand washing, just like that they've been doing all along, and so it has to be potable water. We didn't put any money into the budget because we confirmed that we could use our existing well. This was a new thing that recently came up or came to the attention of the committee just recently, that now that 100-foot setback that they had discussed for the upper site actually applies to the lower site now. Even though that well has been there since they moved to the property, the well has been on the plans from the last couple of years while we've been discussing it in meeting. It only came to light in the last couple of weeks that now they're saying, oh, yes, we do have to comply with that setback. So you put it back to CSWD. We didn't budget for this. If this is something that, if you're committed to Hinesburg and you want to be here, are you willing to cover the cost of that well? And so that's where that discussion went. However, at that meeting, rather than sticking with that deadline, they came back and asked, so we want to find out, because what would be a not to exceed amount, and then in order to accommodate them, we've done many things to accommodate them, but at the last one, they were talking about having to have a temporary setup, which they had budgeted between $100,000 and $125,000 for. And so they said on the well on top of that, they wouldn't be able to justify that. So we've accommodated them by phasing the construction so CSWD could stay in place. So now they don't have to have that extra expense of having a temporary setup during our construction. So there's extra cost to that for our phasing. So now our team is having to redo the plans to accommodate that phasing. There's also going to be some additional road work so that they can access their area, our construction people can access our site. So there's additional cost with that. Certainly a lot of extra work to do all of this. So in addition to what the well cost would be, there has to be also some extra costs that they would need to incur to cover that. They're wanting an itemized list of that. Itemized list involves having Tom Barden, the cost estimator, do work on that.
I don't think they asked for an itemized list. They wanted to know
The cost.
the cost and not each itemized, but
Yeah.
generally what it would be, like the
Right.
road construction, the well itself, the permitting. I don't think they were looking for an itemized list of each thing.
Right. So I guess we need to know, do they have what they need? And It sounds like Phil had some communication with Sarah Reeves. There was some concern if this well, this new well, didn't produce potable water, who bears that cost? And my opinion as far as advocating for the town and the budget that we put in on this, with this bond, we did not put money into this budget. This well works for us. This well can continue to work for us. So I think if it's not, the new well isn't potable, it doesn't prove to be potable, I think that's a point where CSWD needs to look at it again, decide how committed they are to continuing their space here in Hinesburg, or if they feel that they need to now pull out and explore other options. But that would still require them to set up a new site because they have their existing sites. It's shown that the 400 or plus people that are using this Hinesburg DOC, they don't have the capacity to accommodate them at their Richmond location or their other locations. So they'd still need to either expand those locations, put money in that, or put money into building a new site in another town. So
have they stated at any time that they're committed to staying in Hinesburg?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had put it in their budget. Something a little over $300,000 is in their annual budget for redoing the site. So in their words, they said they have committed because it's in their budget.
but we
So,
need,
and they,
But they-
you know, they saw an additional cost associated with the relocation. Original, they were gonna have to relocate. Now, in the plans, I think the team has accommodated and said, look, we can leave you right where you are. There's some
cost to that.
cost associated with it because I'll have to do construction around them, and, you know, we need to plan it out so the people building it know what the rules are associated with leaving them in place. But they thought they could be saving $100,000 or more by that. They agreed that, you know, this well situation popped up in the middle of the process, which, you know, we didn't realize this was going to be an issue. And they agreed that they would put money toward the well, and they wanted a not-to-exceed cost. It can't be an open check book, so they wanted a not-to-exceed cost. I think we've given them one. And then we said there'll be some additional costs to develop these plans associated with keeping them in place and doing construction. I don't know whether that's been provided yet or not, because I think we're waiting for Tom Barden to help weigh that in.
I think
And
that's
then-
my point on that.
And then there's the open piece that says, hey, what happens if you drill the well and it's not what you want? So there's risk there. And I guess the question is, you know, in my opinion, they're not going to sign up for a well at any cost. So, you know, it feels like we'll say, look, we're going to drill a well, and the expectation it's going to be potable, and you're going to provide X amount toward that. And if it's not, then we have to go back to the table. And, you know, that's where I think we are.
I think my concern is, what does that mean by going back to the table?
Yeah, so this sounds like we're getting into pushing out the construction of the garage.
No.
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 Go ahead, Andrea.
We're going ahead with the application, the Act 250 application.
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to the location and the well, that is another point of negotiation. It does not affect, I mean, we are pinpointing on the Act 250 location the potential location for where that well is. We don't have to have the well drilled for this.
So this is good, is what you're saying. This is good.
Yeah.
So
I
we can
think
still build.
We are going ahead, our architects and the engineers are moving forward with the application and with the final drawings. We are not submitting on August 3rd, which was the date, but I think it's going to be next August 9th.
Only because the stormwater piece of it,
Yes.
they have been holding off, waiting for CSWD, so.
So this is good. So we're moving forward we're not going to get into delays and cost overrun.
The only thing I'm concerned about is that well drilling, if the new one needed to happen, it was phase 1, we talked about that. So that really needs to be decided is CSWD fully willing to commit to this? And at what point do they decide it's not worth it to them? Is that point, they've drilled the well, find out for whatever reason it's not potable water? Is that their cutting point? Is that their end point where they decide?
I don't think we know that now. I mean, I think the point is that we can continue on this path of building our garage. CSWD can continue
With or
operating.
without their decision.
Whether
Yep.
they can continue operating. We know that they have committed to a not-to-exceed number.
Which we hadn't given them yet. They said, give us a not to exceed
Right.
number.
But have they formally committed to that?
Well,
They did when we were there. They said they would.
yeah, but
so-
we don't have anything in writing from them.
No,
I haven't seen
but
So
anything.
they
we
asked
should
us
get
for their
that.
number.
Right, but we were talking in that range of $25,000.
Yeah.
So it seems reasonable that they understand the number. Well,
Yeah.
So I see us as being able to continue moving ahead.
That's good.
And that every step of the way, they're having to evaluate, and we're, our goal was to have these facilities co-located, that we were there. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that it works. And at some point, it may not, but
So
there's no reason to not continue.
The water, the well is the thing right now.
Yeah.
Do we anticipate any other issues that will all of a sudden spring up? Again, not to use a bad pun.
I think that's the only thing that we've heard from.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, but I don't think there's anything
So far,
out
there's
there.
been I think you're asking that
Yeah,
question
it's just
because there's
sort of
always
like-
been a new issue.
It just sort of seems
Yeah.
to me like this is like this ongoing thing that we just can't nail down.
I think
But I
that's,
think-
that's what.
And yeah,
is
I mean, there are
weighing-
explainable and logical sort of
Right.
issues we have to get through.
I did hear a commitment from the executive board that they want to be here.
That's good.
They've got money aside.
That's good.
We said, you know what? We didn't realize we needed to drill a new well. Nobody said anything about this. This has been on the plans all along.
Yeah.
We would like you to participate in this. And they said, give us a not to exceed number.
So
And we'd like
we've
to-
made progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a risk when you drill a well. Someone's going to take risk associated with that.
But I think what the select board needs to be clear on, are you guys willing to put the town at risk anymore of spending additional money on something that we didn't need to spend money on?
We don't know if we have to make that decision
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
I don't see that that's a decision that has to happen at this moment,
But
because we haven't drilled a new well.
I think if the new well didn't produce potable water, they decided this is not the space for them, we can still stay on our existing well.
Sure.
Yes.
That's an
And
option.
so
Yep,
There's,
that's an option.
there's, even if the new well doesn't produce, it doesn't mean that, because I think I heard that maybe the town would have to start exploring the second well. We have our well, so we
Yeah.
don't,
No,
we don't
that's-
need to
that's
do
just an
further
option.
expense. Yeah,
If the well doesn't produce, if we move forward and the well doesn't produce, then we have to stop and say, what are our options? And one option is, we don't, we have to talk to them and say, how can we, maybe you can change the setback, maybe you can get a relief from that condition. I don't know.
So that's good, because that's separate, what you're speaking to is separate from my concern, is making sure that construction still moves forward and we
Yeah.
don't cost.
absolutely.
I mean, there is a little bit more of a delay, but it sounds like,
Right.
But it's
You know,
all,
it's-
it can be, that delay is not substantial enough to cost us the project.
Yeah, I think it's important to the project team to understand that the town is very clear, and so that they're feeling like their work is being put to good use, being efficient, and that they can move on, because I
So
think
let
it's
me
been
ask this
frustrating
question
for
then.
them.
So is there anything that we can clear up right now that we're not clear about? We have the select board here. We can make a decision on something. Is there anything that needs to be cleared up?
I think it would be good to get in writing from CSWD that they are committed to, if they're committed to drilling the well and the extra costs, what that number is, and so that that's in writing, we have that.
I think that's fair enough. So
I
we
would
owe
agree.
them the
The
not to exceed number for the well, and we owe them the additional costs associated with leaving them in place during the construction. And then at that point, we get back from them that we're willing to cover those costs.
And they're committed to Hinesburg.
Well,
And-
by covering those costs, I think they are. So,
And then it's, at that point, it's then their decision. They decide if it doesn't prove worthy of, or it doesn't prove to be potable water, the well drilling ends up being more expensive than anticipated, then I think they need to decide what their commitment level is to staying in Hinesburg versus looking at the expense of it versus looking at
Well,
either expanding their facility.
we've said this before, a not to exceed is a not to exceed. So what you're implying is a not to exceed, but if we need more, you have to pay it. And I don't think they're going to sign up for it.
Right.
But, and I don't think we need to go there.
We don't have to
'cause-
go there right now.
we don't have to go there. I think that if it isn't successful, and there's always an opportunity that it isn't, we'll have to stop and say, reevaluate.
So Tom is helping us, Tom Barton is helping us with
He's
those.
on vacation.
Tom is not here. That was my point, is we don't have that capacity to break that down and give them the additional. We've already provided the well information. Mike Burke did an extensive packet for them on that.
Yeah.
And I think they were very satisfied with that information. But as far as supplying the breakdown of the additional, I don't think.
Do we know when we might be able to do that? Do we have an idea?
I don't know. I mean, Steve is now on vacation. Tom Barton is currently on vacation, and so I think they were really hoping that deadline was clear, and then there was a decision made either way, so that there wasn't any
But in the
additional work for
meantime,
them
the
to do.
permit will be submitted. Okay.
So the next time we get together as a board is 2 weeks from tonight, correct?
Yes.
And what will be the update then? Do we anticipate the permit will be
The-
submitted by then?
Yep, all the permits should be submitted by then.
Yep,
as
that'll be
far as
after the
the-
9th,
Yep.
right? And,
We won't have heard anything on Act 250 unless they're requesting additional information,
Yeah, I
because
would
their
imagine they
turnaround,
would.
they figured was going to be, I can't remember, was it 45
30 or
days?
45
30 to
days.
45
Yeah,
days,
usually
yeah.
takes a little
They
So-
won't have, there probably won't be a hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's, the local DRB process has to happen.
Yeah. And so they're gathering information for that already, and
But I think, I think both Andrea and Renee are right. I mean, once we get these estimates, we'd like to get back from them saying, okay,
Absolutely.
we're, they implied they were for it. They just said we needed a definite number to understand what it is.
yeah.
So,
And it would be nice to have that written documentation before that Act 250 permit is submitted on August 9th, because that's the only reason we're going through the Act 250 process is because it's, because of CSWD's amendment to their permit.
Yeah. Okay.
it's been a difficult process.
Yeah.
No question about it.
It's a, it's a construction project and there's
Yeah.
oftentimes unknowns.
And you got two different,
Boards.
Boards,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big part of
That's,
it.
yeah.
So, anything more with select board forum? I had a couple of comments. One is, we've got this potential well agreement with Black Rock, so we had a very good meeting last week with Eric and Alex and Renee and myself, and we kind of went over and were able to outline, here are all the things that we think are appropriate in the agreement. Many of the things were the same, it was just clarifying our understanding of it. And a few things were different, maybe appropriate for the town. And I think Renee and Eric met with them, shared that information, and they're gonna come back, and they're gonna look at it and come back. If everything seems reasonable, come back with a slightly modified agreement, and then at that point, we'll get some legal advice and share it and say, here's the proposal.
Maybe move forward.
And maybe, yeah.
That's part of it.
And
And I
then,
think, I think in terms of, well, I think if they're going to take their first stab at drafting the agreement, but then we should definitely take our time and make sure
sure.
how that agreement would be written from our
Yeah.
perspective, from the town's perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think what Phil was saying, so they're gonna put it into the draft, send it back out to us. We'll gather together and sit as a group again, and then we'll send it out to attorneys to review it. If there's any changes or things that need to be made, we'll do that. And then when it's ready, then we bring it to the select board as a whole for you guys to review it and discuss.
and in the end, it's really just a potential opportunity for another public water supply.
Right.
That happens to be located on different property.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's something we need at some point, and the sooner the better.
You know, certainly, we have many instances where we have located wells on private property. I mean, I think every one of our wells has been on private property. So that part's not unusual.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand what those agreements were with previous landowners. And, I mean, in those situations, the town did drill those wells. But I'm very adamant, I guess, that the town maintains control on this, and that any agreements that we make are open, and
Yep,
everybody knows what they are.
yep.
Absolutely.
And that we have, you know, that we are on solid legal ground.
Yep.
And are protecting the interests of our users.
Absolutely. And
First,
I think that's why we've gone through this process
Yeah.
and tried to make it as,
I hear what you're saying, and I think
Okay.
that was part of the reason it took a while to get to this point. The other news was after, I guess we said this last time, the wastewater permit comments were put in for the new proposed permit from the town,
Yeah.
through our consultants. And then I can't remember, I know Eric emailed me and said he got confirmation. Did I email that to everybody else? He got confirmation that the state is going to help to find the water leak. They're scheduled end of August or beginning of September, so
Yeah.
he was happy
Said
to
that
hear
was
that.
anticipated.
Yeah,
a team from, is it North Carolina or something?
yeah,
that
so
comes?
this is, you know, it was anticipated, now I think it's closer to reality.
Ah,
So
good.
a bit more confirmation, so that's good. I will be on vacation next week and not too accessible to email, so if somebody else could help sign the warrants would be helpful. Andrea, does that
Sure.
sound all right?
Yeah.
Along with Aaron, and of course, Marilee, you always can do that.
And Tom?
And then, and Tom. And if something comes up, maybe Aaron, you'll be,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, you're around all week?
Yeah, I'm not going out of town.
Okay. Anything else for Select Board Forum?
I would like to say that the agenda
It was really well put together, and we managed to stay on time, so I think that that's a result of the agenda being accurate.
Thank you. Yeah.
Duly noted.
Jen Holiday. Jen, were you here did you want to speak for anything?
Well, I'm just here I'm Jen Holiday, I live in Hinesburg,
Okay.
and I work for the Children's Solid Waste District.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I'm just here to listen in and take notes. I have to say, from sitting here, it's really hard to hear you guys. I only caught about 2/3 of your conversation. So for the public to be able to hear you, and I didn't realize that was what you were doing until after I was like, what are they saying? And I saw that. So yeah, it's difficult, I think, with the fans going in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke to this actually earlier in the meeting.
Did
of
you?
Helping the acoustics in this room.
We're
So
Yeah.
gonna rehang the curtain, so,
we agree with you.
It's a challenging space,
Yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, I'm just here to listen to the conversation and give Sarah that feedback. And
okay, good. If you have more questions or anything else, certainly talk through Renee, I
Yeah, if
think.
you didn't hear everything,
yeah, I guess so. Just to be clear about what the select board is looking for with the ask from CSWD for commitment, I understand you want something in writing.
Yeah.
And what you want to provide to CSWD in order for us to commit would be the not-to-exceed number for the well, which I'm hearing is probably not going to be a problem. But then there's additional costs that the town will incur in order to keep CSWD remaining at the site.
Right, you could see
And the
that,
folks that are working on the project don't think that they can reasonably come up with that figure, is that?
Right, no, because of people's availability and they're on vacation, the one who would be doing that cost estimation.
Okay.
So I think that team is feeling like they've done a lot and gone above and beyond to try to accommodate. And so they're hoping that the select board can provide enough guidance and structure so that CSWD can be clear on what their decision
so
is.
I think we owe CSWD the additional cost associated with keeping the site in place, which really is some drawings that, as the people are doing construction, they understand how it's being phased and the fact that there'll be an area they'll need to leave open for Saturdays.
Right.
And so there'll be some drawings associated with that and some additional sort
An
of...
additional road has to get put in so that the contractor can access the site where the garage is going, a temporary road to access the construction site, so we are not driving through the drop-off center site. Because that's, so because the new road that will access the garage will be going right through the site, so instead of being able to put that in right away in phase one, we're having to put in a temporary road to make it happen. So that's an additional cost to the project that's allowing the drop-off center to stay in place.
And so we expect there'll still be significant savings to CSWD
For not
by
having to
not having
relocate.
to relocate. But, you know, this is just some additional costs that the project will have to allow you to stay in the spot.
I think at the meeting, at our last project meeting, what Mike Burke, who's one of the engineers, he estimated that, you know, a relatively safe, not to exceed figure would be $25,000. That would factor in the well, any additional costs with that, as well as what Andrea was just speaking to with the additional phasing work, the plans that have been done to phase that to allow CSWD to stay in place, as well as the road and things like that. So 25,000 is what I heard was a good not to exceed figure to work from.
So you were hoping that the CSWD can commit to this by our next board meeting or executive board
I
meeting?
mean-
That's your hope?
Or even the August 9th date.
The
of-
August 9th, by the time we submit.
So August 9th is when
Yeah,
you're
prior to
submitting for Act
submittal of the
250?
Act 250 permit application
Right.
would be ideal.
Okay. I'm most likely that it would have to go,
I don't think it has to go back to the board. I mean, I think
Okay.
Sarah made
Yeah.
it pretty clear
Yeah.
that this is a decision that she's talked
She
about
can
and the
make.
executive board
okay.
was.
Yeah.
So we are going to be waiting for you to get something in writing of a not to exceed, and then you're
Do you
hoping.
want, I mean, something in writing, or the 25,000, you
Well,
guys
I
tell me.
think Steve, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I wasn't clear whether Steve had already sent this to Sarah, I think.
We haven't, not to my knowledge.
He certainly sent the well, all
The
the well
well,
information.
the well was.
But that doesn't include the other things. And what Steve was trying to communicate is he doesn't have the capacity to break that
Right.
down, the additional. But Mike Burke was saying that I think a safe figure to work from would be 25,000 as a not to exceed.
In addition to the well?
25,000 total, including the well and covering the additional cost. Is
Yeah,
that, did you
I
hear
had,
that correct?
no, I had thought I saw the well was 25, 20 or 25. I thought I saw some paperwork with that. So it would be,
I have it in.
I don't know, I think
Okay.
this is something that we don't really need to be doing
Right.
right at this meeting right now. That it
But
would
I-
be more appropriate to.
right.
have a
I think we owe you that number, those two numbers. And then, you know, what we would like back is that, okay, those are, you know, reasonable not to exceed. And, you know, for that cost, you get to stay in your location. And everybody's good.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for clarifying that. That makes it very helpful.
Did you have something? Oh,
Yeah.
and then so that,
But he wanted to factor in a little extra just in
yeah.
case.
So we have some preliminary numbers which sound about in that range, so, but it would be good for us to, I mean, I wouldn't want to give it because I'd want the project.
I don't expect you to, I
Yeah.
just wanted to know the order of things, which is you're gonna get something to us as those two cost figures, and you're hoping to get back from us a commitment.
Go
for
forward.
August
Yeah.
to move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything more on select board forum?
No, I had something, but I didn't write it down, and it's
Oh,
gone
you
now.
forgot? Oh, maybe it'll still, we got, and we don't have minutes from the last meeting, right?
Yep,
Oh,
they
you
were in your
do?
packet.
Oh, how come I didn't see them?
You didn't see it? I can-
Did everybody else see them?
Yep.
Oh,
it
so
should be.
I apologize for that. Were they, maybe I looked at the Dropbox early.
Dropbox, they've been in since, I think I changed,
Yes.
there was a couple corrections that I made on the thing, so I updated the Dropbox, but they've been
Okay,
in there
so-
since.
So mine's not updated, but, I don't see mine in there. Yeah. And I remember you had talked about it. You said they were simple. I apologize for this.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 27th with any corrections.
I'll second the motion.
I made some corrections from what was originally in your Dropbox. So I had Tom Ayers being present and then Tom Ayers being absent. I was just
Oh,
using-
yes.
So I removed that. And then the numbering towards the end was off, so I adjusted the numbering. But those were the only changes that I made. And so the correct one is in your Dropbox now, as well as on the online meeting packet.
Okay, I'm okay with it. Just looked at the motions. All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passed. Consider approving the warrants.
Make the motion?
Second it?
They're seconded. Any comments? All those in favor of approving the warrants?
New Year, thin binder.
Yeah, it is a thin binder, yeah. Say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passed. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.